welcome to the UEFA Champions League Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the west coast of the U.S., Josh Lander, joined as always by my mate across the pond, Dan Tracey. How are you today, Mr. Tracey?
Yeah, very good, thank you. We've been eased back into Champions League duty with 2 matches on Tuesday. If you consider them the starter, Wednesday night action is definitely the main course, and I can't wait to tuck in.
Yes, this is the steak and potatoes of this as well.
Absolutely.
A couple of prime rib matchups, if you will, here. And a couple of teams, at least one team who remains now. We talk about Bayern Munich is one of the games that we're talking about today as well. And there's some odds up, in terms of who's going to be winning this thing all the way down to the end that are slightly updated now that we're in the second leg as well. So encourage you to check those out as you still get some pretty nice plus odds on some of the favorites to win this thing right now. It is March 8th that we're talking about here, the Wednesday games, as you say, and the best matchups that we can have so far in this first round, although Liverpool and Real Madrid should be fun as well. Either way, we're going to start this one with AC Milan and Tottenham. Want to make sure you do like and subscribe to that page so you can follow along with us till the end. We're going to be talking about each and every one of these games until we crown a champion. Dan also has his great articles up on thelines.com, so make sure you check that out as well. He's got some great picks for us that he's been red hot since that World Cup, really, all the way back in November, December. We'll start here with our first game that we're going to talk about, and that is AC Milan and your Tottenham Hotspurs in Tottenham, back home, hoping that they can have a bit more luck than they had in that first leg, obviously, where they went down 1-0 at this point. So need some goals. Obviously, we know that, and maybe there's some more to come for them in this one, although they've been struggling. Obviously, injuries have been an issue. I'll ask you to jump right into it, as Tottenham is even money to win this one. Draw is plus 255, and Milan to pull out the victory and run away with the win here in the round of 16 would be plus 275. Where do you look for value to begin with here, Dan?
Okay, as you mentioned, full disclosure, I am a Tottenham fan, so I'll try not to put too much bias into it. But with that said, I'm going to go with Tottenham to advance at plus 135. So that allows me extra time and penalties if I need it. Tottenham have to score, there's no doubt about that. And their last 3 Premier League home games, they've not only scored, they've kept clean sheets, which kind of gives me some confidence, regardless of being a Tottenham fan. I look at this from a more neutral perspective. I just feel that they've got something in them, because although their stadium is quite quiet on Premier League days, European nights completely different matter. And I feel with that kind of just 1-0 deficit to claw back, they're still in the tie. Had they gone to the San Siro on Valentine's Day and turned into a massacre, 3-4 whatever, you'd think game over. But this tie is really in the balance. And I just feel that after being dumped out of the FA Cup to second tier Sheffield United, 24 hours or so ago from this recording, they have to put all their eggs in this basket. This is the only chance they've got of winning a trophy this season. Whether they can actually win it, who knows? No one expected them to get to the final in 2019. They did. So stranger things have certainly happened in this tournament. I don't think Tottenham advancing at plus 135 is strange at all. So as I say, if they win 1-0 in 90 minutes, it goes to extra time. 2-1, exactly the same, because the away goals rule has been removed, so there's no sort of jeopardy there. So they can still concede and still get to extra time. So it just gives me a little bit of a buffer in terms of scorelines. I'm not just pinning on 1-0. I've got the extra time if I need it, maybe even the penalties. I don't want to get that far, but if they win on penalties, my bet still comes good at plus 135. So just adds a bit more to it than the evens win, because they could, win in 90 minutes. They could win 3-2, for example, and then still losing extra time, still losing penalties. But I'm pinning my colours to the mast. I'm going for Tottenham to advance to the last 8 at plus 135.
Interesting. And it in that sense, then you would basically be taking them to win probably 2 by 2 goals in this game. In some of the ways I'm thinking about this, I'm just thinking, right, money line regular time for them to win is even money. To advance is plus 135. They have to win to advance, right? So you're getting more juice for them to win by 2 goals at that point, or obviously they can win in extra time or PKs. My only thought process is, if you hit that bet and you like it, maybe you want to also just press it a little bit and you juice it up by, also throwing a little bit on them to win either in regulation or win in extra time, where you get the value there. If you say, okay, they will you up 1-0, let's say at the end of 90 minutes, and then you want to get ahead of that and say, well, I also think they're going to win and advance by winning in extra time or penalties. You get a bit more juice there. It's just some ways to sort of press on the game theory that they're going to advance in general, and I'm just always trying to find a bit more juice as well. So because I like that bet as well, and I'm just finding other ways to maybe play upon that game theory. But maybe you are doing that with your second bet. So why don't we move on to what else you like in this game?
Yes, so if Tottenham are going to advance, they're going to really want to advance in 90 minutes. The best way to do that is by winning 2-0. And I think these are great odds. Plus 775 for a 2-0 win at home. So, as I mentioned, they have won their last 3 Premier League matches. Against West Ham and Chelsea, they won 2-0. So they are more capable of doing that than any other sort of scoreline at the moment. They are very much a second half team. If they go in at the interval 0-0, no panic. Against West Ham and Chelsea, they did exactly that. 0-0 stalemate, found the 2 goals second half. So they have always got that kind of extra gear to find. And I just feel that with AC Milan only winning 1-0 a couple of weeks ago, have they failed to land that knockout blow? Perhaps. Did they really put Tottenham to the sword? No, they didn't. Tottenham, with their injuries, ground in. Yes, they lost, but it was a very spirited defeat at the same time. That's going to give them confidence. I just feel that no team really wants to play the extra 30 minutes. It's there if it has to be taken, but Milan would rather lose in 90 minutes than play 120 and lose on penalties. That's not to say they're going to roll over and just go, yep, we'll take the 2-0 defeat, we'll get out of London, we're back to Italy on the first play. And obviously they're going to give it as good as fist as possible. But I just feel that, as I say, that home advantage is going to be key for Tottenham. They are more adept at grinding out clean sheets at the moment. And I just feel that the roar of the Tottenham home crowd is going to spur them on to a 2-0 victory. So I think it's a great price. It gets it done in 90 minutes. 7.75. We'll take that all day long.
Take it all day long. Take the plus 775. Take the victory for Tottenham and some celebrations for Dan on that day. Don't talk to him on Wednesday if they win. He will be at the pub. But I will say we're on similar thinking here, right? My thinking around if you take the Tottenham to advance at plus 135. How else can you make some money off of that game theory? And it's either that you think it's only going to be 1-0 at the end of regulation, and then you find some juice in the bet for them to win in extra time or PKs, or you like them to win this to advance in regulation by winning this thing by 2 goals. And to your point, 2-0 seems a lot more likely than 3-1, and plus 775 for that to happen. You've already hit one bet better than plus 700 at a 2-0 victory for Benfica. So I will continue to follow you and try to put some extra coin in my pocket with you on that one. So good luck to you on that one, Dan. But let's move on to the other match of the day, which is also going to be very exciting. Hopefully, anyway, if PSG can come along for the ride here, as they're taking on Bayern. And this game is, I believe, right back in Germany. So Bayern's minus 115 to win this one. Not bad considering how much better they look, but plus 330 for the draw, and then PSG to pull out the victory here and at least force extra time, if not win by 2 goals in advance, is plus 245. I will say we are just, as is everybody, disappointed in PSG. They were absolutely dominated in that first match from possession all the way down to shots that they were doubled. Bayern had doubled the amount of shots, doubled the amount of shots on goal. And it was just a poor effort in general from PSG. So do you think that they can rise from the dead to pull this one out, or is Bayern sort of have this one in the bag?
Well, when you look at the first leg, I mean, we were guilty of hyping up. And I think everyone was guilty of hyping up. It wasn't quite anticlimactic, but it didn't have that kind of swashbuckling to and fro from both teams, did it? It was, as you say, an onslaught from Bayern. And really, they should have won that by 2-3, and they may regret that. But I don't think they're going to be in too much trouble, because if they won 1-0 in Germany and had to go to Paris, that's when the regrets would kick in. They've taken a 1-0 win back to Germany, and I think they can kick on from here. So we're looking at PSG's point of view, similar to Tottenham, in that if they win by 1-0, it goes to extra time. The same could be said for 2-1. I think they'll score, but unfortunately for them, I think Bayern will score more than they do. So that's why I've gone for Bayern to win and over 2.5 at plus 145, because simply PSG have to score. They can't just sit there and think, okay, well, we'll just try and coax Bayern out. They've got to try and throw the kitchen sink. So when we factor in that PSG have to score a goal, you'd assume that's one, and the might of Bayern Munich at home, they're not just going to settle for a draw. I feel that a 2-1 win there is more than simple enough. Over three total goals. Yeah. You'd probably pick that anyway, wouldn't you? If you pick that on its own, minus odds. So when you take the home win and add it to it, I feel plus 145 is a sensible bet. Again, it's not the boldest price and not the boldest pick, but the Champions League can be quite difficult to read at times. I just feel that even though PSG will have Kylian Mbappe back in the fold, it's going to be a more competitive clash, there's no doubt about that. But I just feel that Bayern are going to have that edge because they've already got that goal advantage that they're sitting on. And I feel that Bayern and over 2.5 at plus 145 is the best way to go to start it.
Yeah, it's fine. Fine by me. Totally. And I think, on the same lines, if you wanted to tweak that bet in any kind of way, then you maybe take Bayern or the draw, and maybe you take 3.5 at that point to get the juice back up to what you're at. It's a similar theory, just a few more goals. I do like more goals with Mbappe playing, which, by the way, we called that bit of shenanigans that the PSG was going to pull by claiming that he wasn't playing. And it was like, is he really not going to, you're not going to bring him in at all? And lo and behold, he came in, and they looked better when he was in there. They were able to press a bit more in the final 15 minutes or so than they had most of the game, where they got the bulk of their shots after he came in. So I do believe in more goals being available, and I do like Bayern to continue to dominate. They're just completely on form, and they've still only given up 2 goals in 7 UEFA Champions League games this year. So you feel good about them being able to at least continue to win. How they win and what that score will be is another way to potentially bet on this game. So what's the second bet that you're looking at here, Dan?
Yeah, once again, I've gone for a group of scores, but this time, if the first bet was conservative and a bit simple, we're going to go big. We're going to go really bold to finish. So brace yourself. A Bayern win, which has to be either 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, or even 5-1 at plus 800. And I don't think either of those 4 scores are outside the realm of possibility. If PSG bring their shooting boots, Bayern will raise their game. It could be almost basketball-esque in the terms of forward attacking goals everywhere. So at the same token, Bayern could absolutely smash PSG as well. But a 5-goal thriller, a 7-goal thriller, why not? We've got some Benfica budget to blow, so I'm blowing it at plus 800. Let's do it.
I love it. Yes, sir. The Benfica budget, we shall start calling it because of how much we love that bet. I'm with you. I love when you start grouping scores together and giving me these options for plus 800 in this case for Bayern to win by a fun group of scores, as you just want to take a ton of goals, as you said. So all this stuff lines up for the way that we're thinking about this game going, and I feel good about the bevy of picks that we have for you guys. Dan has all of this for you on thelines.com. We're going to be bringing you every single game on video as well here in this podcast, so continue to follow along and like and subscribe, and until we see you next, happy betting.